The simple truth to a successful business. What is it all about? Today we are live on Let's Talk Business Show, and I have an amazing guest with me who is not only a successful businessman, he's also very high energy, full of wisdom, and of course, lots of learnings, not only from really powerful speakers and events, but also from his own spiritual side. Welcome, David Buurma. How are you today?
Great, wonderful. How you doing?
I
How
am
you
doing
keeping?
really great. I was really excited to see you today because I know you have a pool of wisdom to share with people.
Yeah, well, no, I do love to learn. I do love to grow, and there's something about that just makes you feel good when you're growing and you're learning and you're developing, right? I mean, you probably noticed that in your own life.
That is
So
very true. That is very, very true. But you know what I wondered about? Because I know you now for some time, and I'm really grateful for all the learnings we had together because like we speak quite often and we grow together, which is amazing. But you know what really amazed me about you all the time? How much wisdom you have. And you are so young as well. So, I really wonder how you being so young, being already businessman and successful and having so much wisdom, like how did you end up there? Because so many people they're willing to be there and they're not. So could you share us a little bit of your story? What made you who you are before we jump into the business? Because I'm sure there are lots of wisdom about the business, but tell us more about yourself. Tell us who you are as David. Who is David?
yeah, no, I'd be happy to, and I'll try to wrap it up with this what you started with at the end of the segment, but there's a lot of things that put a foundation to a person, right? And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of points of DNA and how you're raised, and so many different things that make you as a person. But I would say the main thing would have been the hunger. There was always a hunger in my life. I don't know why there was always a hunger, but there was always a hunger at a young age. You know, I was went to Mexico to find a girl at 17. I was married at 19. You know, I had children at 21, 22 years old. So there was always a perpetual hunger in my life, and I tried to run businesses down in Mexico. I failed at them, and so that was kind of the basis, the starting point. I mean, go back a little bit further. I was raised with 5 older brothers, and I dropped out of school myself at just after grade 9, and started working because that was kind of a bit of a culture that our family had. So we didn't have an education base to start with, and I think that's also a bit of a point I want to share is that there there's never a time to stop learning, right? I think a lot of times go to college and university, and you get out of college, university, people think, oh no, I learned my degree, I learned what I need to learn, and now I get a job, right? And I always say, if you go to be a dentist, like they got to teach you about business. You're still running a practice, right? And so to be successful at being a dentist, you know, who's saying you even need to be a dentist to run a dentist practice, right? You could be a business guy and have a great dentist that work for you or be partnered with you. You don't actually have to be a dentist to run a dentist practice. So there's so many things, so many levels of educating yourself in business to not only grow it, but also sustain it. And the sustaining part is, I'm not saying it's difficult, but there is certain truths. I always talk about truths in life, right? There's certain truths. It's like gravity keeps on working, right? If you want to ignore it or not, it still keeps on working. There's simple truths of business also that once you understand them, they create a foundation for you, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm still discovering them, right? I'm still learning them. I'm still developing in that area. So that's probably my biggest background was probably that hunger, the attitude, the optimism. Those are the biggest thing. I don't know how you can be all ever successful with a pessimistic attitude toward things. It just doesn't work.
I think you're right there. When you have a negative outlook, when you have negative attitude, you actually cannot be successful because it will attract different type of success. It will attract different type of people, which will not make you flourish. But I'm really amazed how you actually at the age of 17, like, I mean, when I moved to UK, I was age 24 and I was already, I think, and I hope having a bit more of wisdom. But when you're 17 and you're a school dropout and you go all the way to Mexico, did you speak, is it Spanish they speak there? Did you speak
No,
Spanish when you moved to
no,
Mexico?
yeah,
No.
zero, no, nothing. So again, it's just at that age you don't know what you're doing, to be honest, right? You really don't know. You know things you've done back then. It's like wow. I mean, well, that guy was nuts. I mean, why do you ever do that, right? So no, I mean, would I recommend it? Not necessarily, but I done it, right? Um, so, and you know, going back from that, you know, I tried to run businesses down there. I tried to live down there and be successful, and it didn't work because
Why didn't?
because culture is so much different down there. It's actually very difficult. It's very difficult. You know, that's also part of my success also is because I came back to Canada and I came back, I was getting paid $4 an hour when I was living in Mexico, right? And I was trying to live off of $4 an hour and raise a family and start businesses and that kind of stuff. I had saved up some money before I went down there, but basically I came back with nothing again. And my brother started offering me a job to run night shift for $20 an hour. And I was so excited. I mean, really, I couldn't put enough hours in. You know, $20 an hour. I like if I could live off of four. You know how I'll be like a king now, right?
Did you feel like a millionaire? I'm now, oh my God, I'm on double.
And, you know, that is actually a truth too. I I always really believe in living like feeling like you live like a millionaire. You know, it's always the small things. I always say it's always the small things in life that you can be appreciative of. So at that point in time, I read some books. I don't know if it was Rich Dad Poor Dad or The Wealthy Barber or which one it was, but it said one of those books. I don't know if it was those books for sure, but it said one saying that came out was "Live like no one else today, so you live like no one else tomorrow." It's a fairly famous saying, but it's truthfully how I lived. Right? I ran a Grand Prix car that I bought for $8,000 in California. I bought it with 50,000 miles on it, and I ran it till just about 3 or 4 years ago. Right? That same car. Right? So
Wow.
there's discipline that I had created in my life. Yeah. And I lived in an apartment that I paid $500 rent for. And I paid for some of that by working, to cut my expenses down. So there was a lot of things that I'd done to live well below my means. And so most of my money, even having a family, went to investments. Right. At that point, I started investing stuff. And actually my first farm that I bought as I came back into Canada was bought with no money.
Wow.
And so my process to it was actually bought from a brother, and I called my brother up and says, "Hey, I'm looking at buying a farm. Would I be interested in buying your farm?" And he said we agreed to a price. And so I said, "But listen, because you take 75% to pay down a farm, right? To pay no, you need 25% to the bank, and the bank will lend another 75%." And I said to my brother, I said, "Listen, I'll give you the 25% in a year from now with interest, like a good interest rate with interest." So then I went to my other brother and I said, "Hey, would you lend me the money, this 25%, for the time it took to do the transaction?
Wow.
Because the bank wants you to give them the money for the 25% down so they can do the transaction, and then they give the money to my brother, right?"
Yeah.
So once he'd done that, he lent all the money back to my brother. My brother then gave me back the 25% back to me that I bought the farm from. And I in turn paid it off within a year, like I promised I would. Right. So basically I bought that first farm with no money, as long as he was willing to hold that 25. He didn't know what he was doing, but really what he was doing is holding that 25% for me until I could pay him back. Right. And that was perpetuated to buying the next farm and the next farm and the next farm. That's how it started, right?
But that is so resourceful. I mean, so many people, they say, I don't have money to buy things, or I don't have people whom I know, or my family's not supporting me. But you actually just went out of your way to be so creative. How to do that? I love that. I really love that. That's remarkable. What
Right.
was
Well, I think
your,
it's built in character. I think, character is built in that. My brother trusted me, right? If my brother didn't trust me, even as my brother, he wouldn't have done business with me,
yeah.
right? And that it's built in the character too. So
Wow. Are you still in the business with your brother, the same brother, or what's the situation?
no, I am with another brother, but the brother I bought the farm from, he's in the construction. So
Okay, I see, I see. Wow, but that's remarkable. And also, I think it's really beautiful when actually in a family you can support each other. It's really beautiful because very often people end up in situations where people just don't believe in them. And it's fine when your friends don't believe in you, but when your family members, when your brothers, sisters, or your parents don't believe in you, that is really challenging. So I'm really, really happy that actually you had an amazing brother who was there. But I think you must be really proud of yourself coming up with such unique idea, going to the bank, going to the brother, and just doing and linking this all together. That's really remarkable. But you know what I loved? I love those 7 golden rules of your business, which you stand by. And I would love you to talk more about them, if that's all right. And I remember your first rule was about 4 foundations of the business. What are those? Can you elaborate more on them?
Yeah. So we talked at the very beginning was attitude, right?
Yeah.
We talked about attitude. We talked about how important the attitude was, how important it was to take on also risks, right? Willing to take on risks, the adventure, the excitement to it all, growth and sacrifice. It's kind of like that personality level of who you are. That's important to have that, those levels. After a while, you understand how to calculate that risk, but there's always going to be a certain level of risk. Otherwise, if there was no risk, no one would be doing it, basically. Right? And
It's true.
everybody's willing for a certain amount of risk. Some people are very willing for very little risk, and so then again, it limits their upside, right? And I communicate that when I negotiate with people, right? All my negotiation is considered risk and reward, and the willingness that I have to take on a higher level of risk than anybody else increases my willingness for reward,
Mm.
right? And I communicate that in any kind of negotiating I do, any kind of negotiating I do. And my businesses tend to have a tendency of higher risk businesses because I enjoy that part. And I also, we can talk about this a little bit later, but I'd circle myself around a group of people that are also excited about that risk and also are quick to move, right? To
Yes.
make changes quickly. And that's pretty important to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I did mention the other one. I did mention the other one also already, that living like no one else today, soon live like no one else tomorrow. I really believe that that's a foundation to really grow fast, right? I spend money now on things I would never allow myself to spend money on. I mean, I'll tell you funny quirks. I mean, I always believed that you had to buy from the dollar menu at McDonald's, like all the time. And now I have a hard time not doing it. you know right? It's like, okay, I got to go for that, like I think they call it McPicks or whatever there, right, from the dollar menu. So they don't taste much different, right? Is there at least I convinced myself, right? So yeah, it's that willingness to take those sacrifices at an early age or an early stage of life. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. And my dad helped in that area too, to be honest. He taught us at a very early age what a vehicle is going to cost you and how expensive it is. And it's amazing that compound effect at a young age and that saving at a young age, how it can move you forward so much faster. And once you get past that little stretch of road where you get over the need of buying a vehicle and you have enough in your bank account, emotionally, you don't need the vehicle anymore. You don't need to prove yourself that you're cool. You don't need to prove yourself that you're awesome. That all kind of dies out, right? So at a young age, if you want to recommend anything for a person, is try to eliminate, how much that personal stuff you spend your money on. I really believe that if you can't go and take your car and push it off the hill and not feel bad about it, it's too expensive. You pay too much money for it, right? And I even have concerns sometimes, wealthy people are driving a nice vehicle, like, oh, be careful with my vehicle. Like, I thought you had the money for it. Right? I thought you had the money, right? From my opinion, is like, if something goes bad with your vehicle, whatever, it's a vehicle. You make no money. Right? So that's a very important stuff. I talked about through challenges and appreciation, the opportunities to manifest themselves. And I think I speak of this a little bit later too, but I talk about buying other people's fear and selling the optimism. And what I mean by that, I'll give you a few examples that I've done this in a few years. Well, first of all, I didn't really talk about much about my business. So my business, at the basis of my main business, is I sell human poo, right? It's actually a fertilizer. It's pelletized, and we resell it to farmers. But it's actually that's where it comes from, right? And it's dried out.
Stop you here. Can I just stop here? And I really appreciate you share that. But do you remember when we met and when you told me what exactly do you do? The reason why I laughed, I really respect your business and really, really respect what you do. And I think it's a really remarkable and beautiful idea. But I remember my reaction on when you told me what you do. I laughed my head off. Do you remember that?
Yeah. It's kind of my pickup line, actually.
Pickup line. That's that's the most remarkable pickup line I ever heard.
Right. You really find the people that are willing for the shock experience or not. Okay.
I love that. I love that. So can you tell us again, what actually do you do?
Yeah. So we have contracts with different cities, and that we take all their biofertilizer. Now, I don't handle any product that's not processed and sterilized. And part of the process, they heat treat the pellet, the product, the biofertilizer, basically the human poo, essentially. And they heat treat it. They bring it to a certain temperature, sterilize it, and it pelletizes, and it becomes a fertilizer essentially because of the process. And we resell it to farmers as a fertilizer. And it's a great product. It's amazing for, on an environmental level, because you're taking phosphorus that's a finite resource that they say only has about 50 years worth of product still left in existence, and then we're going to start running out of product. So we're taking a finite resource and we're using it to the field. So it's in that level, it's really cool. And also the other level is when you're buying a commercial fertilizer, it's usually one source. So it's just phosphate or just potash, just whereas this product, because of the source, it has all the macros and the micronutrients in it, which are very important for plant health and plant growth. And so it's a unique business, obviously, but it's one that takes a lot of management, a lot of great people, and learning how to service both the provider and the customer at a very high level. And that takes a great bunch of people to do that, right? So so that's kind of the basis of it. I expanded from there. We're now buying and selling grain from farmers, and now we're just starting to import equipment from Europe into Canada. Besides that, we obviously run the cropping farm. Besides that, my brother and I. So that's kind of the background of the business. But again, we went from 3-4 employees back about 4 or 5 years ago, and we're running about 30 to 35 employees today.
Oh,
I don't really like to have too many employees, to be honest, because I like to pay a premium to the employees and rather find more people outside source.
love that.
And I like a tight knit group. But yeah, so it has, and the only reason why we've been able to do that successfully is because we've actually put those foundations. We've done simple things like understanding people's personality, hiring based on personality. And I was going to talk about one more thing here about the different things that you need to understand. I always tell people one of the best and most important things you can do in life to be successful, just you be successful, is understand your strengths and weaknesses.
Love that. Yes.
Right? We live in a society where we try to not put ourselves too high and brag too much, and not put ourselves too low, and be like depressive, so to speak. And I go to the extreme. I'm like, I want to know what you're amazing at, right? And I want to know what you suck at.
I love the phrase. That's a good one.
And the reason is it's exactly the opposite of our society teaches us. See, when you go through school, if you're poor at English, what do? They focus on your English.
Yes.
Right? You're good at math? Well, yeah, he's good at math. Just let him do his thing. But we're going to focus in on English.
Yeah.
Right? When you come to the real world of work, we don't care about what you suck at. We'll get somebody else to do that for you. Right? I'm a very disorganized person. But I live with people all around me that are very organized. High action people and high organized people. Right? I'm a high action person, but I'm very disorganized. Right? And so it's about establishing the right management group around you. Right? So that's one of the biggest foundation, is that personality level is very, very important for hiring. Right?
I love that. I love how much attention you put into working on your weaknesses in terms of know about them, but don't improve them, leave them there, but really push your strengths. Because you're right, nowadays people do a bit of a both. They want to be perfect, they want to be able to do everything. But when you spread your time and efforts into everything, you actually don't master anything. And it can't be mastered for all trades because it just doesn't happen. So I love the fact how you completely and openly admit I'm not organized, but you have people who are helping you with that part of your life, organizing everything. That is really remarkable. But when you mentioned risk, and I know it wasn't the very beginning of conversation, but now when it comes to people, and you said we had 3, 4 employees, and now we have around about 30, I think you said.
Let me keep track, but yeah.
Yeah. So do you think there is a bit of a risk to have that many people in only a few years? Because, many people will say, oh my God, that's like growing too quick. It's having too many people, especially when you want to pay premium. Like, do you consider that having more people in your team as a risk, or is it actually investment in your business? What's your opinion on that?
Right. So again, it's very important to understand people's value. So there's two levels to running business with people. Is that you have to have a human resource side. My brother is more of a human resource person. I love people, but I don't have the patience to deal with the small things.
Love that.
Right? My one salesman says I should have lots of patience because I never use it. Right. But so I don't have the patience to deal with the human resource side. So my brother really does a really good job of that. I also believe in always having managers that have the skill set of doing the job they're managing.
Love that. Yes.
Right. And the reason why I do that is it gives me the strength. See, last night I was actually spraying on a spray trailer. Part of it's I like to do it. I don't have to do it. Part of it's I like to do it. But the other part is I really believe in the philosophy of scalability.
Right.
So you have managers and you have owners, entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And on a normal day, they're at the desk.
Love that. Yeah.
Right. But when you need the capacity to deliver on service, you're able to ramp up at a capacity that's incredible. When things are full out, there's nobody in the office. We even sometimes have our ladies, secretaries, doing stuff in outside.
No way. Also being involved in the manual things?
100%. 100%.
Wow, that's commitment. That's a real commitment. I mean, that it takes time and effort to build a really strong team. And when you can do it, it just shows that people are really committed and they believe in you as a leader. Wow, that's remarkable.
Right.
How did
So
you do
I always say this part too, is that if you want to be a successful business, find a need. That's what I always say. Find the pain that's linked to wealth. Pain linked to wealth, and service the crap out of it. Right? Find the pain,
a good
link
phrase?
it to wealth, and service it. And service it very well. I'll give you an example. One of my salesmen, again, also salesman, also spreader operator. One day he was talking to the farmer while he was out there spreading this biofertilizer, and he was chatting it up. And our service, like I said, is second to none. It's unreal, right? And this guy is paying us already $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 for the product. And he sat in the back porch, watched the guys work all day, and then afterwards came out with a $50 bill as a tip.
Well done. He's a salesperson, you can tell.
Right. The service was unreal. Right.
Yeah.
Our service was unreal. If our service was crap, what do you say? The service is crap. Like this kind of industry doesn't get tips. It's not a tipping business, right? He's already paying his bill, right? So the fact that the farmer loves the service so much and how we delivered it speaks volume. I love those kind of stories, right? I love to hear those stories coming back to me, right? Because it's just an example. See, once you have enough to eat your basic food in life, people will do things for the experience afterwards.
There we go. Yes.
They'll pay the extra for the experience. Because the Grand Prix I used to drive compared to my car that's a lot nicer now, it has the same functionality. It has air conditioning, it has cruise control, it goes lots fast enough. It's all the same functionality. But why is people willing to pay double, 3 times, 10 times, 20 times for a different car? Because of the experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's so true. When people want something, they're actually ready to buy absolutely, they're ready to pay any price. And it's really remarkable how, because when I deliver my workshops, and very often I'll ask this question, how much money did you spend on something what you needed? And people will say different things. I bought a new car for XYZ amount of money, or I bought a new washing machine, or I bought a new equipment for my business. So they would say different things, depends what obviously what they spend money on. But then when I would want to go to a question about wants, I always ask them a question. What was the last time when you bought something when you just wanted? There was no need for that. There was no need at all, but you just wanted. And I remember one one story. One lady, she said, I bought a horse. I just went onto the event. I saw a horse and I bought a horse. And I said, how do you buy a horse? She said, I wanted. And I thought that's remarkable. How do you go to an event and you don't go to the event to buy a horse? But she said, I just look at the horse and I fall in love with her. It was a female horse. And she said, I just wanted to have her and I just bought it. And I haven't even had a place where to take her. So she had to organize everything else, all the aftermaths of having a horse after she bought a horse. And that's one of those, ridiculous stories which I like to go back to when it comes to the difference between need and want. And you're right, we will spend enormous amount of money on anything we want because of the experience it gives us. It's remarkable.
Yes, 100%, hundred
Very,
percent.
very true. Yeah. Awesome. But as you started saying about having more people, and I asked you a question about the risk, and I love the way how you said that it is about who your team players are, the managers, the bosses, the people who actually are doing the manual work. But still, how did you feel every time when you were taking a new person on board? Did you feel it was a scary experience? I'm expanding, I'm having more responsibility, more wages to pay, more people to look after? Or did you look at that as a way to grow? Because many people are in between. I need to grow and I can't grow. I need to grow and I'm scared to grow. What would you say about this?
That's a very good question, actually, very, very good question. And so, I, no, I know. The quick answer is no. I never feel afraid of that.
Mm,
Um, and I always believe in hiring the best. I like young though. I love young talent. Young talent's really nice. Young talent because they're going to mold with you, right? They're going to grow with you and they're going to mold with you, right? So I love young talent. I mean, last the girl I hired, she came right out of college. She was a farm girl, and she's my kind of half assistant, half everything. She has no experience in a computer, but she's high action, high organization, and she has a farming background. That means she's has a work ethic that goes with it. So those things is basically what I worked hired on, right? Was those basic things. So and so there's certain areas, like as challenging one would be like a salesperson, right?
right. Why is that?
And well, because good ones are expensive.
That's true.
Right?
Well, they
Good
bring
ones are
business
expensive.
in.
And I don't conform to average, because what I learned about salesmen is they need a truck, they need to get fuel, they have all these expenses, and all of them are going to take all those expenses, right? But a good salesman will outsell a poor salesman 10 to 1. 10 to 1. And the other thing is, I don't want to miss a sale
Yeah.
because of bad communication. Because I know my product's good. And if I have bad communication because of poor salesmen, you see, I have a philosophy that says that 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 sales doesn't have a bad reputation because of salesmen in general. It's because of all this poor salesmen and women out there that it creates a bad reputation towards sales. In
That's
other words,
interesting. That's really interesting. You said all those poor cells. Did you say women?
women or men or
Ah,
women, salesmen or women. A lot of times people like have a bad feeling about salespeople. Like, oh no, I don't want to hear another salesperson selling me another piece of this or that, or the used car dealership salesman. They always have this references to what salesmen indicate to their lives because they're always trying to con something off to them, right? But if you were to think in your own practice or any practice that you have of a person that you really love when they sell to you, right? And maybe you can be a person that's always calm and everything. I'm not, right? But if there's a good salesperson comes along, I will serve them the coffee, right? I'll sit down and chat with them. And if it's a poor salesperson that doesn't understand my personality and who I am, I'll ask them to bring pistachios. That's my thing. And I tell the other guy to talk to him because they're annoying to me. They're
Yeah.
annoying to me. And they could have had an amazing product. But because they didn't connect with me, they didn't understand my personality and who I am, right? They understand like I'm all about value, right? But the next person might be something different. The
Yes.
other person might be all about service, or the other person might be about love and connection, right? Or knowing their dog's name or knowing what kind of coffee they like, right? And a salesman has to learn all these traits a good salesperson does. So going back to what I said at the beginning, salespeople are bigger struggle because again, you don't want to hire an average person in any field, but even less in the sales field, right? And I had a philosophy at the beginning that advertisement alone was going to be good enough for me. And when I expand the business so fast, I realized it wasn't necessary. And I also realized now that salesmen will pay their own way. A good salesman or woman will pay their own way.
I love
So they'll create their own value. They'll create their own value, increase the value. So yeah,
it.
when it goes back to the other employees again, no, start out with the person that's going to turn to your manager, right? Get him, like the guy that's our manager, main manager, he's 23 years old, runs our whole operation.
Wow.
He started when he was 17, 18 years old on a co-op.
No way,
He was-
so young.
yeah, spreader operator for me. And he had the right personality, he had the right fit, and he just kept them molding in, kept adapting.
Oh, I think, David, we lost you a little bit. I think you muted yourself somehow. Oh, there we go. We got you back.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, but it's a bit quiet. Can we hear you?
I don't know why I done that.
Not sure. But I love what you said. Why are you fixing your sound? I love what you said there about salesperson. And I must say that one of the biggest learnings in my life was about actually those sales. And I think in terms of business, every business person need to be a bit of a salesperson, because whether you have a salesperson in your business or you don't, you as a business owner, you are first of all a salesperson, because you sell yourself all the time. By the time you open your mouth, by the time you go out somewhere, you meet people, by the time you either do social media or you don't do social media, everything you do, you are selling yourself. And when you don't sell yourself, it's still selling yourself, just not having any results. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So when we went to Tony Robbins event, I think you were there at Business Mastery,
Yeah.
right? We talked about entrepreneurs, managers, and artists,
Yes.
right? And I started discovering in my own, and we're gonna get to this a little later, but we talked about how to be in business itself, how to understand what what you need and who you are and that kind of stuff. But going back to those things, yes, you are always selling yourself, but you don't have to be like I'm a strong entrepreneur, but you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be entrepreneurial.
Interesting. Okay. Elaborate more on that, please. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I also believe in partnerships, but I don't also always mean as invested partnerships. And I'll give you an example of that. So I have a manager, 23 years old. And I said to him one day, I says, what do you want to be or do long term? He loves where he's at. He loves the excitement, all that kind of stuff. I said, well, what do you want to really like? What's your long term thing? He says, well, what I love to do long term is I love to be a chicken farmer. And I
Oh,
said to him, yeah. So I said to him, I says, you know what? I do too, right? I didn't really want to be a chicken farmer. I just didn't want to lose a guy, right? right? So I said to him, I said, listen, I says, I will build the barns with you. We'll go in 50-50, right? And I says, you don't have to manage them, right? We'll find somebody else. You manage that person that's looking after it.
love that.
And so the reason why I do that is because I want to keep the guy. I also, the chicken business is a good business. I'm okay with doing it, right? And I'll be his entrepreneur and he'll be my manager. We'll actually go in that business 50-50, and I'm more than happy to do it,
Yeah.
right?
It helps
Because,
you to grow.
right, they say all boats rise together.
Yes.
And you know, I always like this thought. You know, people think about people like Warren Buffett, successful guy in the stock markets in America. And we hear about him all the time. I don't know he's, you know, what his wealth is, but you know, it's always, you know, the billions of dollars. But I said, we don't hear about his number one partner beside him, number two, number three, number four. He's not doing it all by himself.
Yeah.
And those guys aren't just a millionaire. Those people are also billionaires, right? So a lot of times also people are greedy. They don't think they can share. There's not enough for everybody. It's all bullcrap. There's enough for everybody. Where it's successful, let them all rise together. But understand the value that they're delivering.
Love that.
Right? If they ain't delivering 50% value, don't offer them 50% value. Right? But and be very, very slow to offer them any sort of partnership. I call them all partners because they're very important to me. And I'll pay them accordingly that they'll never go anywhere else if they have that kind of meeting. But
Love
it's
that.
only very few times do I actually add them into my business as an investor.
This is so powerful, yes, because when you reward people accordingly to what they bring in terms of value, in terms of knowledge, in terms of how much time and effort they save you by being who they are, why would they go anywhere else? It's really remarkable. And I love the comment which Maria actually made just below our video. She says, people buy from people. And when you business owner, and I think it's really, really great comment. Thank you, Maria, for that. And I think when people put their attention into employing people who are a real asset in their business, in that case, their business will flourish. And business is all depending on people who are in your business, because you can attract clients, yes, but if your people cannot serve them at the very high level, what's going to happen to their business?
100%, 100%. It's all relationship based at the end of the day. It's all relationship based. You know, I want my salesmen to connect to the people, understand what they like their cereal, like they'll understand what they like their coffee, they understand what they like everywhere. I mean, so they can come and serve them and deliver on them. And you know, the clients love them because they know that kind of stuff. It's very important. We're always selling. Another thing I was going to mention to you too. We talked about this selling, right? The idea of selling and what we are for the people, and that kind of stuff. Leaders. Everybody's looking for leaders out there.
Oh, yes.
Everybody's looking for leaders. You know, I was gone on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks. And when one salesman, you know, it's kind of interesting. The second salesman I have, he was never thought he was a salesman. Again, another farm kid. He was a spreader guy. But I could tell in his personality that he had the ability of a salesman because he's always pushing people, always pushing them, always pushing the limits, always all kind of stuff.
The boundaries.
Yeah. I said, you're going to be a salesman for me. So I was gone away for 2 or 3 weeks, and he's not a very, you know, doesn't express himself that much. And he says, you know what, I was really starting to miss you. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. You know, that's kind of touching. But the reason why he's missed, as far as I know, is because he's looking for that guy that just like that guy that would like who I am, because I'm kind of fearless in my approach. I'm good. I'm just like, you know, I'm going to take that away. I'm going to send it. I'm going to nail it. I don't really, and I work with very little fear, right, in my process. And he was missing that, right? Wow. So you have to have a vision. You have to be a leader. And I always say to people, you know, where are you wanting to get to, right? Like, look at that gold at the end, that gold nugget, whatever it is, vision your head. And I always give the analogy of the plane, right? And back in the day when they didn't have GPS in the planes, they were like 90% of the time they're off course.
Yes.
But they always land on that small little runway, right? It's because they never lost track of their focus. Yeah. Never lost track of that goal, right? Doesn't mean that every day is a success. Doesn't mean that every day you're right on target. No, but you're always knowing what to go back to. And I think a lot of times, you know, another saying that Zig Ziglar used to say that people that don't have these goals and these visions, it's like a wandering generality. Right? How do you ever get to what goal, right? Like where are you going to?
That was my question. Exactly. That was my question. Like right now we're in this lockdown, people are suffering. People say, I have lack of motivation to wake up. I have lack of motivation to do X, Y, Z. And obviously I work with a lot of people as well on various goals of theirs, but there still is so many people out there who say, I don't have a goal. I don't have something to work towards to. So my question to you is, David, how people can come up with their goals? What's your opinion is on, this what you can do in order to be motivated. This what you can do in order to find your goal, to find what to go after. What's your opinion on that?
I think that's some people are probably could be easily in a very negative spot and a very dark spot. So in those type of situations, I wouldn't focus them on money or some success or that kind of stuff. I'd first focus on them. A lot of times everybody's successful in different ways and different measures.
Yes.
And I've thought for a long time, a business person couldn't be successful with having emotions and feelings in the business, right? For the longest time. My business only really blew up and expanded when I started being emotional and feelings. Right?
Wow. Could you tell us more about it? What do you mean by your business exploded and expanded when you actually tap more into your emotional side? What do you mean by that?
You see, you can fire a person and care for them at the same time.
Right.
You can do a business deal and be tough and negotiable, but also be one of the best for the other person, right? You can, but you can on the same time you can say, like on both sides, hire and fire, both on emotional sense. I think that's important to do, and to have that expression of enjoyment and pleasure. We always say if it's no longer pleasure, no longer enjoyable, I'll forget it. I'll be the first one to go leave and start working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And we'll fire people solely based on an attitude, solely based on attitude.
Wow.
And our team loves that fact, right? That we'll fire people solely on attitude. It's one of our basic things. If you have a bad attitude, your time is numbered, right?
Right.
So when I go back to that side of feeling, I say, first of all, find out what brings you out, what makes you alive, what brings the beauty, the love, the excitement in your life, right? Wherever that comes from, right? Bring that out first. Connect with that heart of yours, the love you have inside you, and start from there, right? And then when you start from there, you'll want to do stuff. You'll want to, another thing, Tony Robbins, 6 human needs, right?
Yes.
You go
Yeah.
back there and look at them. And when I was in this seminar at Tony Robbins, the last 2, I can tell you all 6, but the last 2 is called growth and contribution. And what he said in that seminar, he says that people will be happy, a sustainable happiness, a contentment and joy, if you spend your time in that level of growth and contribution. And so I decided at that point in time, I said, you know what? I don't need to go and study if it's true or not. Let me just try it for a while, right? Let me try that space of growth and contribution. And he's right. Like another friend of mine, actually my adopted brother asked me the other day, he says, are you really that happy every day?
I know, it's a really bizarre question you get also often. But it's true. People wonder, how can you be happy all the time? And it's really surprising how very little amount of people are wanting to be in that state. It's really, really interesting. And what I think it's important to work on is keeping that state. But what about you? Because you shared how important it is. So could you please tell us what actually makes you drive? Is it really that contribution which you just speak about now? What else besides this contribution, what else besides giving value and helping your people who work for you, what else drives you to get out of bed and be high energy? Because you are so high energy. Like, I don't think so I met any other person who is that high energy, and to me that was very shocking when I met you for the first time. So what exactly drives you that much?
Right. So it's how colorful life has become.
Wow, love that.
It's not colorful because now I don't live in a level of fear, because I don't live for the money. I live for the excitement. I live for the next challenge. I live for the next opportunity. I live for some crazy thing that's going to happen today that I have no idea, right? That's going to happen. I live in a lot of more of a space. Like, I have certainty. Like, they talk about different needs, like human needs, and they talk about certainty and variety. And I have a certainty that's around me, my house, my home, my family, right? But I go out there for the variety, right?
Yeah.
I go out there for the excitement. I look for the chaos, right? And another thing I want to share too, and I learned this in an early book. A successful man or woman that's learned his success through educating himself or herself can lose it all tomorrow, and
Mm.
their potential success in a few more years is exponential. I know of a good friend of mine that lost everything in 2008, and I don't know where his wealth is, but it's where it's probably that, 400 or 500 million dollars, right? Well, how do you do that
Yes.
in 12 years, right? How do you do that? And it's only one thing. It's because you've learned so much
Yes.
in life. And I don't know if it's true. I read in one statistics that says the average millionaire goes bankrupt 3.5 times in a lifetime. I mean, it's
I
hard to
heard,
believe it's
yes,
true.
yeah, the same. Hmm.
Yeah, I heard it's true. It's like it's not ridiculous, right? How that's the successful person. Like most
That
people
could
would say
be the
that
test. That could be the test. Have you been bankrupt? No, you're not millionaire. That's it. Keep working. Love that.
yeah,
Love.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, it's incredible. It's their willingness to keep on going, keep on learning, taking those risks. I mean, they obviously took a few risks to go bankrupt, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
um anyways, yeah, that's probably again, we talked about a bit reaching out to others for help. It's really important. And investing in yourself, investing in learning. The last, again, a really interesting caveat. Once you're a business person and you want to go to an event, those events are actually business expenses.
Yes.
Small detail. Right?
Exactly.
Small detail. You go to school, those aren't business expenses, right? So educating yourself becomes more economical
It
as you're in business.
does. It really does. And many people forget about that. They really forget that actually education in the business is a key thing. The more you grow, the more your business will grow. And all these events, your overnight stays, you're traveling then from, it's always your business expenses. And why people still don't use it, I don't really understand. But I think people should just grow as much as they can and invest into themselves as much as they can. Because even coaching is also business expense. The
Yeah.
amount of clients who come to me for coaching and they say, could you please put it as a business expense? I'm like, well, we are working on you. It is your business expense, obviously, right? So it is your education is your business. But I would say you can use it as business expense in this accountancy world, but actually it is a business investment in
100%.
which
It's
world.
huge investment to
Yeah,
yourself. Huge
yeah,
investment. The thing is, when they teach you at school, what they already taught you is already old. They had to print the books, they had to do all this stuff. The stuff they teach you is already old. When you go to these gurus out there, they're telling you stuff that's up to date that they learned last week, right? That's the stuff they're teaching you,
yes,
right? So
yes.
a totally different level, a totally different level.
And so condensed as well. It's like when my son, he's 14 and he's wondering what he's going to do next. And I'm like, look, if you don't know, you're going nowhere. You're going to do a job. Because once you know what you want, then you're going to go and learn something. Because what's the point for you to go for 4 years, study in a college, university, or anywhere else, spend all the time and effort, come out, not knowing what you want to do in life? I
Yeah.
don't understand that. Like I've done it
100%.
myself.
100%, 100%. That's that was part of the success. My dad told me to go to work. I didn't know. I didn't know I was gonna be me today. Like, did I know that when I went out, grade 9? Did I knew I was gonna be me? No. It's because of that thing, and that's the other challenge for a lot of people, is that they went through school to be this person. The problem is that person. It's very restrictive. They put you in a box, basically, right?
Yes.
They told you this is who you're gonna be. And
Yes.
no wonder people change their direction so many times, is because they go try to study something and then they're like feel like they're a failure. They're done a year or something and they didn't like it, right?
Yes.
So it's very difficult at that young age to know what you're gonna be. Even 20 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old, 23 years old. I was in Mexico. At 22 years old, I was running a backhoe in Mexico. Right, that was my job. I was
Marco.
shoveling in dirt. Right. So yeah, you can all make it. And I was gonna say this part, you're talking about, how do you bring out this if you're in a negative spot and that kind of stuff. People will say they always try to find excuses why you're successful. Well, how were you raised? Well, your dad
Yeah.
was a farmer, wasn't he? All these kind of things.
Mhm.
And I wanted to share this opportunity because this is the one thing amazing about you, is that you at this point in time put this thing together, what we're doing right now,
Yeah.
during the time of coronavirus, right? Because you thought of it, you made it happen. It looks super professional. your background, I know a bit about it. You started from nothing. You became successful because you took every opportunity you found. I watch you when you go out to people's events, where you're at, you're always there to deliver, to find, to connect with people, to help people, all that kind of stuff. And it creates a huge amount of connection network. Your network is bigger than mine. And 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 I'm came from a farming family, as an example, right? So if you ever to that point, you say, it's because I had this certain background, I have all this kind of stuff. That's bull crap,
Sure.
right? That's bull crap. It's all by learning. Instead of spending the time on Netflix, go to YouTube and watch some educational videos, right? There's so much stuff. There's thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars. We pay to go to events that they spend $1,000, and it's
Oh,
for free on YouTube.
yeah, totally, totally. And I must say, there are two things which I really, really love about you. One thing that you're a non-stop learner. You're a non-stop learner. And I'll ask you a question about this in a minute. But the second thing, what completely blew my mind, because I thought I'm only one weirdo like that. Because in my home, I don't have television. Like, people have television, like TV in their living room or in their bedroom. My son, he has his own TV in his room because, he's a gamer, whatever else. I don't watch television. And when I found out you don't have television, I was like, no way. There's another person who is not watching television in the world. Because when you say to the people, they wonder, but what do you do? And it's remarkable. It's like, seriously, like for real. I read, I journal, I communicate with people, I stay in touch. I work, like I have lots of clients around the world and my time is busy. It's really busy. And even about this video, like you said, it all looks professional. But David, amounts of people who tell me, Olga, but why don't you make these, all faster videos with all these, text and music and things like that? And I'm like, dude, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a director of movies, right? I'm here to bring value and I'm here to bring people who know what they talk about to educate others.
But you know
That's
what happens too? I want to interrupt you for a second. You know what happens too? Is that people want it to be perfect
yes.
before they deliver it. And that perfection is what makes people become delayed and says, well, it's not perfect yet. So I'm not quite ready there, right? And the coronavirus comes and goes, and it just didn't have it perfect right yet. And that's the thing. What you do is you deliver. And
Yes.
then what do people care about? Delivery.
But it is about deliver. Yes, it's being there and deliver. But I'll go back to the question about learnings. I wonder, what was your biggest thing? I know maybe it was a book, maybe it was a band. What was the biggest thing in terms of learning? What completely switched you on? Because I got it. You were already hungry. You were already an achiever. You already wanted something and you were desiring something. But what was that thing which really transformed you?
I don't know. I think it's challenges, it's problems. I was in Mexico, didn't work. It was, go through a divorce. It's other challenges in businesses. It's all these things. When I said at the very beginning, challenges with appreciation creates the opportunity. There has to be a synergy that happens to create something in your life, right? And it has to be the right synergy. And a lot of times we shrink away and we hide away from the challenges that's going to be in front of us, and it's I was wanting to share this one thought. My brains became rewired over time.
I love that.
It's really weird. So we had a couple of years ago where everybody had moldy corn, right? We had moldy corn,
What's that?
and
Want to elaborate on
corn
that?
that's gone moldy when it's still growing.
Oh,
So
moldy
it's
corn. Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
and they were selling to the ethanol plants and that stuff, and they're getting a huge reduction in the price,
Mhm. Of course.
huge reduction. And I'm like, the reduction they're taking was ridiculous. I was like to myself, this is crazy, right? And so I said, well, it'll be only a matter of time there'll be an opportunity for this corn where we can sell it or whatever. And we didn't have the infrastructure to handle it. And so I came up with the idea one day, because I was just, it just kind of spends time in mind. Like, there's an opportunity here. Like when there's a challenge, when there's things are happening like that, there's an opportunity. There's opportunity. So your mind's always going. And you know what's interesting? Two things that's really interesting. I said, we buy people's fear and sell the optimism, right?
Mm.
People are wanting to sell it more when the corn was cheap than when it's expensive. It's like a fire sale. It's like the house is burning, right? And they're all running out of the front door. You know what I do? I go in the back door and see if I can grab a few things. That's my personality now, because it became rewired.
Yes.
And now every time there becomes a challenge, I'm like, there's gonna be something here. There's gonna be something here.
Love that. Love that philosophy. Yes.
And there's that here. With the coronavirus. Is, I hear people, I'm doing work. I says, well, look at the grocery store. It's pretty busy, right?
Exactly. It's an opportunity. And honestly, as soon as we were in the lockdown and this panic started and people started contacting me like, oh, what can we do? Can we do? What's your opinion on this? And I said, use this time. It is the opportunity which is given to you to sit down and come up with idea. Whether it is you buy in bulk toilet paper and you sell it, whether it is Dettol you sell. Honestly, I was freaked out myself. I went online to buy Dettol because there was no Dettol in the shop. I'm like, okay, let me just buy online. Clearly there'll be Dettol online, right? How much do you think Dettol costs in UK normally, like a bottle? It's about £3-4, okay? £3-4. It was on Amazon for £36. In dollars, that's probably about $40. And I'm like, I probably should stop doing coaching and sell some Dettol now. In bulk, like buy just a massive container of Dettol and sell that. It's every situation, every circumstance is a great opportunity, but you just have to sit down, stop watching that stupid,
right.
Sit down and think, what could you create?
You 100%. You're able to say, don't stop watching the news. Like there's nothing positive. Positive news doesn't sell well, right? Never has. So what are they going to sell you? It's going to be negative news. So get rid of that stuff in your life. It's what creates our success, is because we don't have any of that stuff. We fire the people that are negative. We eliminate the stuff in our lives, right? And so it's a positive atmosphere. It's very important. It's hard to be creative. It's hard to be creative in a negative environment.
Yes.
Very hard.
Very true, very true. But I love the comment here we have from Maria. Thank you so much, darling, for sharing this. She says, hard times can change life if we focus on the after.
After what? On the what again?
Hard times can change life if we focus on the after. And I think what Maria means is not focusing on the now, how difficult it is now, but have the vision, as you said earlier, David, in this interview, have the vision where you're going and work towards that, rather focusing how difficult, challenging, and problematic it is right now. And I like the example of woman giving a birth. I like this example, even though I know it sounds quite awful, like woman giving a birth. But if every woman would focus on how painful and how awful the experience of giving a birth, we wouldn't be here because there'll be no births. I mean, in the cave times, they didn't know how to prevent it, but now people can prevent it. And yet women get pregnant and yet they still give birth because no woman is focusing and paying attention to how painful it will be, because they all know it's a one lifetime experience, or maybe 6 times if you have 6 children, all right? But it's one experience, but then you have a beautiful human being. And if you just have this mindset of don't focus on how painful it is now, think about the future, think what's going to come after that.
I love that. And a part that I'd share with you is that through those experiences, it takes those experiences for the growth.
Yes.
It takes the birth for it to be correct. It takes the seed to get germinated and push through the ground for it to be a healthy seed. Like if it doesn't have that pushing factor when it's coming through the ground, it actually doesn't become a healthy, vital plant, right? So this pushing, this refining is like when you refine gold, right? You put the heat to it, right? You put the heat to it and it becomes more pure, right? And that's what we need in life, is that challenge, that thing, because when the challenge is met with the person that we need to be, who our strengths are, where our love is, right? And it meets that challenge, we'll show up in the way we're supposed to be. And if we don't show up in the way we're supposed to be, guess what? It's another lesson.
Yes.
I always say you have one opportunity to learn to change yourself. You have a second opportunity with your children, and you have a third opportunity with your grandchildren. So
Oh, I love that. That's
you
nice.
tell me when you want to start learning and growing.
That's
Because you got 3 times in your life.
That is so true. That's very true. But David, I wonder, because obviously right now you are an adult wise man who has his own business, who is successful, who is amazing, high energy, being the boss, and with your height, you just own any place you walk into. But I wonder, what would you tell to that boy who is
Mm,
a school dropout, who is leaving the school thinking, I'm a failure? I'm not sure if you had this thought or not, but what would you tell to yourself from
mm.
your spot now, who you are now, to that boy who was a school dropout?
Right. There's a few things I would tell them. There's a few things I tell them. That work creates character. Work
Mhm.
creates character. Physical work creates better character. Physical work. I'd also tell them that learn to serve, but I'd tell them also that we all are the same. We all are the same. We talked about a little bit earlier where you came from in life, right? We didn't all have the same opportunities. But you know what I say to people too? I said the people I love hanging out with is the people that are growing.
Yes.
I don't care which level you're on. I just want to know you're growing. Do you ever be with somebody that has all the success in the world and they're doing nothing with it? And
I love what you said there. I love what you said there. I know you're fixing the microphone now, but I love what you said there. Hang around with people who are growing because you will level up yourself as well. Powerful. Really powerful. Yeah, I still cannot hear you, so I'll let you fix that. I'm not sure what's happening, but maybe it's just a little technical detail here, technical glitch. But it's really important to remember that the more we grow, the more the business will grow, the more our life will be upgraded. And also, as David said, that you need to hang around with those people who are hungry for growth, who are hungry for success. Because I'm not sure who exactly was the original author of this amazing phrase, because now everybody's copying that phrase, that you become the average of 5 people in your life. And think
very
about
important,
those people. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that, David?
very important phrase, very, very important. Even if I maybe not have anybody my level in my atmosphere, I spend time watching stuff on YouTube, like
Yeah.
Patrick Bet David. I mean, the Tony Robbins of life, Les Brown of life, all those people. When you're doing that, you're essentially associating yourself with those people, even if they're not in your life. You're associating with those people. So 100%, you don't have to go. I mean, if you can find those great people, the
Yes.
Olgas of life or whatever, if you find those people, you adapt to life. But you also be aware. Again, what I said, people, if you came up to me tomorrow, I said, hey, David, and you're a nobody. I really want some help. What do you have advice on? I love to help you. See,
Mm,
see, the successful people want to help, but we
true.
cannot help somebody that's not asking for help. Because what we've learned in life is that it's more successful to talk to the wall than to talk to somebody that's not wanting to learn.
It's true.
Right?
Yes.
Because the wall we know didn't get it. But when we talk to somebody, we think they understood and heard us, but they didn't listen to anything we said.
Yes.
Right? So we all want to help somebody. Successful people generally want to help people,
Yeah.
but you have to ask. You have to have the desire. You have to have the hunger. You have to be willing to go through the pain. You have to be willing to go through the challenges in life. If you ain't willing to go through the challenges, don't even ask the question.
There we go. There we go. True that. And David, you know what? I could probably sit and talk to you for hours, but I'm not sure if you realized or not. It's already been more than an hour. And I'm like, oh my God, where did the time flew? Just like 1 minute. Because there's so many more questions which I would love to ask you. And I'm sure that people who will be watching this video, they will have more questions for you as well. So I'm sure we can bring you back at some point if you'll be willing to. But what you shared today is so valuable. I love your wisdom. I love the value, how much you shared today. And I love how hungry you are for these learnings. I love that. So thank you so much for coming today. Is there anything else you would like to share with people before we go and before we finish this show?
Stay hungry. That's it.
Love that. Love that. Nice, sweet, and short. Stay hungry. That's really good. Really
Les
good.
Brown would always say, he always scream it, you gotta be hungry, right? That was a Les Brown saying, right? So
Yeah.
you get these little sayings from different people, and they stick with you, right? And they kind of show up all these moments, and so that's why it's important to learn, right? So yeah,
It's
stay
so
hungry,
true.
stay hungry to
Thank you.
learn. Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I'm really grateful for you coming here and sharing all your wisdom, all your knowledge. And I'm sure there's so much more to share. So I'll be looking forward to speak to you again. But everybody who watched us, thank you so much. I would love to hear from you. What's your opinion? What's your thoughts? Have you applied anything in the future? It would be great to know what actually helped you in your business. This wisdom, which actually David shared with us, maybe it was really useful. So it will be good to hear. But anyways, thank you so much, everybody who was participating. And thank you, David, for being on this show. We'll be looking
thanks
forward
for
to
having
seeing
me.
you again. And have a wonderful day. But I want you, David, to say that. Could you please say that?
Yes, you have a wonderful day.
I just love that phrase. This is your signature. Thank you, David. Thank you.